Hello, and welcome to Scuttlebutt, the War Movie Review Podcast. We're headed back over the 38th parallel this week with Sam Fuller's 1951 Korean War film, Fixed Bayonets. Set during the woes of the Chinese Winter Offensive of 1950, we follow one platoon's attempt to save their division in a rearguard action. As always, I'm joined by Mike A.
Hello.
Mike B.
Yep.
And Nate.
You almost tripped up on Chinese, but I give you credit for that.
Oh, away it goes.
Yeah.
So guys, what do you think?
Thank you. Good night.
All right, it's a sigh. Good night.
Who wants to go first?
Nate, you go first.
No,
you
No.
rarely go
Nate the
first.
Great.
You always just go, well, these guys just say everything.
It's
You go
a
first, Nate.
1950s movie. That's all I need to say.
You know, it's funny because I was going to say the exact same thing, Nate. Often when I was in film school and stuff like that, everyone loves to talk about like the famous Westerns, like the Western era, like, John Wayne Westerns and stuff like that. I mean, those were like the big movies of the time. And, I've seen a number of John Wayne films, and every time they've concluded, I've always thought the same thing. That was a John Wayne movie, all right. And that's kind of how I felt about this. It was like, yeah, it's a 1950s war movie. I don't have much to say about it, honestly. I don't think I've ever like this might be like the least amount of things I have to say about it. I mean, maybe the discussion will kickstart something, but
Yeah. No, I'm running into the same problem, which is why I'm like, don't make me go first because I don't know what to say other than it's 1950s movie. I mean, like, I like my 1950s movie. I like my World War II 1950s movies, but I only like a very handful amount of them. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Brian loves this movie, and yet he shit on Attack, said he couldn't even get through it.
Hold on a second.
To clarify, do not say I love this movie. I love Battleground, which is a great movie.
Okay,
I've never seen Fixed Bayonets. I heard of it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Sorry.
No,
yeah, because I was messaging. I was messaging.
I will clarify.
Yeah, I was messaging Brian last night, and we were both like, "This is a piece of shit."
I will say there are some aspects I liked about it, like every other movie. It's like you gotta cherry pick some of the 1950 stuff. It's like there's some things that they did in this movie that you don't normally see. The way they do it, it kind of felt very not the norm of that kind of style in that era. So those are and we'll go into depth. I'll go into depth later on that. But like there are good things that did come out of this movie. This wasn't like a filthy, flaming pile of turd like midway.
No.
What are the good things then? Let's start with that. Before Brian even goes, what are the good things that you noticed, Nate?
Good. This will be quick.
Yeah, because he paused.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
it's like if I say the good things, I feel like you're just gonna rip me apart now for it. But I mean, they're gonna put me on a pedestal.
No,
okay,
I just want to know. I genuinely want to know what you saw was good.
The wood chipper's been turned on.
Yeah, I mean, like I genuinely there were little moments. I think it's more of moments in the field that felt very, very, very genuine to me. Like I liked the one of the moments that made me laugh out loud was the guy going, "Oh, these are stalactites, and that's a stalagmite," and the guy like slips and falls headfirst in the thing. He's like, "Oh, you can tell that's a stalagmite." Like, shut up, like that made me laugh, and there were bits of that kind of went into it. Even though it was corny, I actually liked you can smell them, and by the time you realize it's over, and it was like jump cut. Griff is on the mic. Jump cut, Chinese man. Like I liked that. I actually liked that.
Oh, yeah.
So there were things, and I liked, even though I know you can tell they're sets, I do like the snow. I do give them credit for doing snow. Like if you think about it if you think about it, it's like you could do a Korean War film not in snow. You could just do mountains and stuff like that, but they decided to go that route, and it does add an extra, even though it is obviously background and then a set with a mountain with a hilltop on it and then fake snow. It does add
very obvious.
It does add a very unique style to it that at least I don't normally see in those films.
Just to interject quickly, this is an interesting film.
Well, no, Brain, it's your turn. It's your turn.
I'm also not done, and there's also one more thing.
Well, yeah, I just want to say one thing quick. So, this film was, shot during the Korean War.
Right in the middle of
1951.
it.
Yeah.
And what was fresh on the minds of people in the West was the Trojan Reservoir disaster. The Chinese winter offensive of 1950. So I think that's why they really emphasized to try to go with the snow because 1951, everybody's talking about the pushback to the 38th parallel. Like 1950 was insane. The first few months of the Korean War is fucking crazy. Like if anybody really looks into it, with the sway from the Pusan perimeter, Incheon, it's fucking insane. It's very comparable to the Eastern Front, but like on a scale of like 6 months.
I was gonna ask that. Like, out of all of the the wars of the 20th century, like the Korean War, is one that I don't know a lot about, and most people don't. So I was curious, and I'll have to ask, like you guys this because you'll know. Were there parts of the Korean War that were like the fucking Arctic like this?
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
I got stories. I know guys that were at Chosen where it was like negative 30 degrees, like warm.
Yep, same.
Oh yeah.
I've seen,
artillery guns were freezing. It was so fucking cold. They had to push back the howitzers with their hands because the fucking like hydraulics were frozen.
Okay.
It's insane.
It's just that I don't know. For like, I've seen photos of the Korean War where you see like guys in parkas and stuff like that, but this was just like, man, this looks like like the fucking North Pole or something. Like this is crazy.
Oh,
It's basically like
horrible.
Wisconsin. So you remember when you were out here, Michael, and it was like nasty and shitty? That's how Korea was in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's very similarly like on the latitude.
It's a peninsula with fucking 1,000 peak mountains, especially where they were, because the northern part of the peninsula is very mountainous with North Korea. So it's just really shitty. It's like comparable to like northern New Zealand, where it's just like really cold winters.
Okay.
And just
I
really
didn't
high
doubt
terrain.
it, but I was just curious. Like I was.
Well, it's good.
No, so
yeah.
that's how it was in the winters there. The summers were also very hot.
Yep.
And so it's like you got it's like basically being up here, because right now it's really hot out here. It's 90 degrees and whatever. And in the winter, it gets to where you witnessed and you saw. It's just shitty. Like you have that extreme difference. Right. And so yes, that was factual.
Okay.
Nate.
Yeah, tangent over.
Or, I'm sorry.
Nate.
No, I don't care. That's fine.
I thought you had 1 point.
Well, I mean, I just because I was gonna lose it, and I think I have, but I can't. The one thing I did just find very, even though it is, stage filming in the 50s, I did like, the whole aspect of like being trapped in a cave, getting freaking destroyed by mortars. And again, it's like it just felt, it was just really cool to see some of the weaponry within that thing and how they kind of used it. Even though it's 1950s, it is what it is. The other thing I wanted to ask was that a water cool that they were using mainly in the
Yeah, they used them a lot in Korea
yeah.
because they were more efficient than
okay.
the.
I knew you guys would probably
And
had
the Chosen too. They had problems with them freezing up. Guys would piss on them.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. But no, the water cooled were used a lot during the Chosen.
Now is that
Yes.
just because they were more preferable from the
Heavy weapons
elements,
platoons.
or is it
They're more reliable.
because
Oh, yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
because
Like,
what? Because
they're
what
more,
would be
yeah.
what would be on the return of the A6s?
Well, the A4s.
A4s
well,
and
A6s were.
Well, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it is, but like they use the water cooled. They actually use water cooled in Vietnam.
Right.
in the
Yeah.
early days.
And I'm in. Yeah.
And so they're heavy, but when you put those things on a position, you know that you can do sustained, if not cyclic
right.
fire,
Yeah.
for a lot longer than you can with an air cooled machine gun. And yeah, they're heavier and everything, but like the effects are better. And yes, they did use those through the entire Korean War into Vietnam, but like the Korean War, it was a lot of these units would choose those over the air cooled because they could fill up the water halfway, have it freeze, and then they'd be able to fire longer.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, like that's
From what I know, from what I know, it's not like
it makes a lot. It logically makes sense. I mean, that's what if you're going through, you learn things as you go, and it's obviously you would want to use aspects of the weapon that might be like a failure to then help you sustain it longer. So
correct.
It's interesting. I was just curious because I saw that. I can't remember my last point, but there were parts of this movie that I liked. And then
That's good, yeah.
1950.
It's-
The one actually, I just jogged my memory. The one part I did actually really like was the sergeant's death. It was just a very odd way of going out. It's like, I'm dead, and he's like, and then he's dead. And I just thought that was actually really well done. Weirdly, I know it might be really cliche, but I was like not expecting it. I'm waiting for like, they punched my last ticket.
Something like really cheesy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's a fair point where he just goes, "I'm dead."
And then he's dead, and he doesn't, and he looks up, and he's the same facial reaction as when he said that, and that actually really caught me off guard, and it was a very strong moment that you don't expect in the 1950s films that normally come off very much like I punched my last ticket, oh, they got me.
Yeah, some cliche fucking line.
That there were moments in that film and the writing that actually kind of felt like it was a little bit above a 1950s, war film a little bit. I can't remember the exact other moments, but there were moments like that throughout the whole film that I liked. But I think for the rest of it, it was, call me red, bah, 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 bah,
Yeah.
Moscow tea.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Hey, Sarge, what are the commies up to now? It's just like, shut up.
Michael, that voice, you fucking nailed it.
That's what they sound.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, Sarge, where are the Reds? Yeah. That was one thing. I guess I can jump to that. Like, we were watching this, or I was watching it, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just waiting for like the Mexican American or something, or the Polish American to show up and be like, how's it going, everybody? Like, all the foreigners in these fucking movies are all like, just fucking like really excited all the time and everything.
You mean the Italian man, and then the
I was just gonna say thank you. He's Italian. He's not fucking.
The
he's not,
Italian guy, and then the Native American. Yeah.
But like the Italian,
we lost your ear.
Right, but you have the foreigner guy, who's this
you call this a mountain?
Right, he's got this fucking accent. And
I
everything
can't
like
do
that.
an Italian accent. I won't even try.
But that's how it is in all these movies, like the Italian or whatever, the whatever foreign whatever he is, it doesn't matter. But yeah, he's always like, hey everybody, it's just he's like, look what I got or something like that. It's just really overdone. I was telling Brian this last night, but yeah, it's like when I watch all these older movies, there's just so much like underlying racism and shit that you don't pick up on when you're younger. So
it's
funny.
Speaking of brain, it's your turn, bud.
So I wanted to come back to the Korean War just because we've done a lot now, like a lot of World War II, and jumped a lot around, like 80s and Beirut and stuff, and so it's just interesting to like come back to the Korean War from an American perspective, and there's not a lot of films from the American perspective that are good or even that are recent. Again, this is the Forgotten War, and there's like a billion from the 50s because that was what was in vogue. That was just the times. And of all the ones, I'm really glad I chose this one because I really think it's the best of that like swell of like 20 to 25 films that came out. There's Battle Circus, which is supposedly really good, and that's what is about a MASH unit and became MASH later on. But no, so watching this, it was very interesting. And again, I try to contextualize all these movies, like so I was trying to look at it from the late 50s, late 40s, early 50s perspective, and it's kind of really good and revolutionary for its time. Because if you think about like what the most recent big war film that came out right before this was Sands of Iwo Jima, which is arguably horrible, and like even the veterans hated it.
Arguably,
well,
I could see some
like,
boomers loving that one.
I like that they're at Tarawa. It's the only time anything has ever depicted Tarawa,
right?
Which I'll give them credit for, which is cool, but it's horrible. It really is. And then you come to this where like you see Americans die. You see a lot of Americans die. And you see a lot of Americans die in different ways during a war. It's just very interesting. And also the way it's shot. Like with the tank in this one getting knocked out by the 75, again to compare it to the Senzu Iwo Jima where like the flamethrower tank is like driving impervious to everything and blowing up on Iwo Jima, which is like
eye roll.
Everybody knows there's like 75s and pack howitzers everywhere in Suribachi that knocked out so many tanks. So It's just they did a really good job with, using things. It's not a minimalistic film, but they tried to use everything that was given to them. They had 75s, they had water cooleds, they had the Jeeps they blew up in the beginning. Like, gear wise, they did a really good job.
They had 50 Brownings on the hill too.
That were blank adapted,
Yeah,
firing.
yeah.
That was fucking cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a 1950s film, but there's a lot of really good gems in it. Like the Japanese culture for the American soldiers, super correct. Because a lot of the guys that went to Korea in 50 were stationed in Japan. And they were occupation guys. And they were there forever. The 7th ID was there. And fucking, they were just told to go to Busan. And they ended up later in the Chosin Reservoir and stuff. And like, they knew all those Japanese words. Like Ochiban and these things. And that was just, I thought that was really interesting. Because when you read a lot of Korean War memoirs, that comes up. Like trips to Japan were common.
Why does Mike B look like he's holding in a fart? Your mouth is tightening up as Brian speaks. You're just like you're just making faces.
He's not that we can talk about.
I have to.
Brian's he's bringing up really good points, and yes, sure.
I've never seen you try to
stifle
it with your face. This the first time I've seen that. I have to bring it up. I want to hear this. I want to say. Sorry, Brian. He's making faces.
Just to finish it up, it's an interesting film for its time.
Yes,
and they do, do a lot of things that movies wouldn't do for a decade at least later, And to compare it to a decade earlier, this fucking Sergeant York, it came a long way in war films from Sergeant York to this.
I have a point I want to make, but no, we can hear from Mike B first.
The volcano. Here comes Tonga.
Yeah.
No, Mike A, you should definitely make your point first.
give you a little more time to simmer. Okay.
Oh no, I actually for the first time in this, well, maybe the second time, I actually wrote notes.
Okay, cool.
And so
here's one point I want to make with this. Now, the real interesting, in my opinion, the movie, I don't know, the story, in my opinion, is kind of forgettable. There's really nothing that interesting going on in it, in my opinion, other than the stuff that we've talked about, little nuggets here and there. But the most interesting thing, in my opinion, is that it was made by Sam Fuller, who, it is the second war film that Sam Fuller did. Now, Sam Fuller fought in World War II, and Sam Fuller was in the 1st Infantry Division, and he went on to make the 1980 film The Big Red One. And watching this, I got a lot of parallels going on. I was like, wow, I can really see that. And if you ever watch The Big Red One...
I'm so glad, yeah.
If you ever watch The Big Red One, it is one of the weirdest war movies I've ever seen.
Yep.
And there's a lot of shit in it to where... I mean, okay, whatever. Sam Fuller was in World War II. Okay, that's fine. But, that doesn't immediately mean that everything he does or puts in his war movies is law or something like that. And as an artist, I really don't agree with his style. He's got, this weird satiricalness to him that everything is so, satirized, it seems. It's very bizarre.
That would make sense why the inner monologue of that main character keeps happening then, because it's the same kind of stuff in The Big Red One.
Mm.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Yep.
But, I think he's done better in this movie.
Dude, I could really go on about... I mean, this movie is whatever. It's a 50s movie, but The Big Red One, that is probably one of the strangest war films I've ever seen. It's so weird.
Have you seen the redone one?
Yeah, that's the one I saw when I first saw.
So you saw the what was it called? The recreation of it or something?
No, that was the one I saw. I didn't see the
80s one.
No, yeah, I saw the one with all the deleted.
Mark Hamill?
Yeah, I saw the 7-hour version.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I haven't seen the 7-hour one yet, but if you look into it, there's a lot of
7 hours.
It's not that long, but it's 3 or 4 hours.
3 hours.
It's really long.
Well, the original is 2.
That's well.
It's funny because when you look at Sam Fuller, because he didn't do anything for 17 years or 15 years from the mid 60s to the 80s.
Yeah.
And then he does all these movies, and every one of them gets destroyed in the editing room.
What are you laughing at, Nate?
I'm watching Mike. He's just making faces. Let him go off already. Let him go off. He's gonna implode. Let him go.
Just to finish with The Big Red One, I don't know. Sam Fuller just had a lot of fights with studios about his editing style, and they just had to recut everything because he worked on another film after it's called White Dog. It was really controversial or something. They had to recut it 4 times. So yeah, it seems like he was just a kook and then tried to come back to the industry and make something really fucking strange, and everybody was like, "Get our money back."
Yeah.
And Lee Marvin's in it. Get our money back. And then
Yeah.
like it's fucking strange. And you know, like you said, even the longer one, I've seen some of the clips online, but not in context of what he wanted. And this is very strange. And if you look into the set too, he's like shooting 45s at people. He was a fucking
He's
very
he's
strange.
psycho. Yeah. So it's like that's great that you actually served. It doesn't mean that your movies are gonna be gonna be great. And we should eventually maybe do the Big Red one because that is that is a doozy of a movie.
We will for sure.
Yeah.
Where's my little fucking donut? Like there's so much in that film.
It's the same kind of movie where it's as this one where it's full of like this really annoying dialogue and all these like really pessimistic characters. Like
Same guy. You know,
Yeah,
same
yeah.
Director.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
this-
That's like his style. It's like everyone is like this fucking asshole with all these wisecracks and stuff, and it's like
Well, the steel helmet's even worse and even stranger.
that was his
The
first
one he
war
made
movie.
right before this one.
That was his
Yeah.
first one. I've never seen
I
it.
didn't like that. It's like they end up in like a Japanese temple, and it's like an African American medic, like a little Japanese boy, and like the same Sergeant Rock character in every single way possible. Like they literally just are like, "You want to get paid twice for the same role? Well, do it." And like he's fucking verbatim, dude. He's the same
Wow.
guy in this movie. But,
Okay,
it's
so let's hear
strange.
what Mike has to say.
Yeah. You don't hear the one that gets
Well, with Mr. Fuller being the director and whatever the fuck. What's really interesting, I noticed this in the opening scenes. Like I had to actually like watch the first 5 minutes over and over again just to make sure I was correct and not incorrect. So when they reference the 16th, 18th, and 26th regiments, those are all first ID
Oh,
regiments.
and he
Yeah,
says Colonel
yeah, I
Taylor
picked
in
up
it. He
on
says
that.
Colonel
Yeah.
Taylor. Yeah.
Right. The first ID was not involved in Korea.
Oh, I don't think that meant. What? That's just him writing from memory.
Yeah, that's his bias.
Okay,
sneaking in.
okay, and so that's what we're
I
going
agree
into.
with
Like that's a
Mike.
big
I
fuck
agree with
up.
Mike B. That's a
Oh,
big
Rod
fuck
Sterling
up.
did the same thing when he talked about World War II service in the Pacific. He always talked about his unit.
No, it's
here are paratroopers on Guadalcanal. It doesn't
I
write
agree.
about what unit.
I agree. It's bullshit, but that's the reason why. You know.
Yeah.
No, it's the reason why, but like that is like retarded. It's like okay, you've got a fictional script. You've got a fictional script written, and that's fine, but like maybe just fucking maybe put your own personal bias from your beloved 1st Infantry Division aside and get regiments that were actually there in the Chosen, like part of the 7th ID. You know, just whatever, but like that's why it's good that you actually went off on that rant, Mike, or Mike A, and because he was so fucking blinded in the writing and the directing that he could not fucking get away from the 1st Infantry Division. And they weren't even in Korea. Like, what the fuck? Think about that. Like, that's the only fucking conflict that they were not actually involved in.
I didn't.
In the U.S. history of military
I didn't know
history.
that.
That's the only conflict that the 1st Infantry Division was not involved in.
Well, he done.
So,
goofed.
Well, remember at the time
Yeah, he
the war
done
was
goofed.
still going on, so they could have got deployed. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that. Well, you know, because it's 51.
Okay.
In the midst of the, the fighting.
I'm not going to give you that one, Brian. I'm not going to give you
Well,
that
that's
one.
just it's understandable.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm not going to give you that one.
Okay.
I disagree. I disagree. But like,
And
okay,
they also don't name the
si-
battle, so it could be fictitious. I mean, if they did say
Okay,
we're
that's
the Chosen
fine. That-
Reservoir or something, but
That's fine. Get the units fucking right. Just get one of the units, one of the
It's-
like 6 or 7 units that were there, the army units that actually did fight in Chosen.
what's funny is that
Or
like,
around there.
5 years ago I would have been right up there with you swinging, but like now it's just a it's just a war
Okay.
movie. It's not like
Yeah,
they're not
okay.
attempting to be like SPR or something, which is not a gold standard
Yes.
at any percent at all.
I know.
but like they're not like depicting something down to the stitches.
I know. And
not
so
Revelation.
here's the thing is like, why I wanted to go last is because you guys have already said basically everything that I would generally agree with, right? And so that's why I wanted to go last this time. So I'm going to go right into the details. Is like in that same scene in the first 5 minutes, that colonel that's treating him, and this was throughout the film too, guys in the squad, or the platoon rather, why are you wearing a Holly liner?
I noticed that. I noticed the Holly liner. Yeah.
What's going on here? Like,
That's what they had stock at the studio.
That's how it is with a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
at the
This is
studio,
probably
yes.
in like Guadalcanal
Okay.
Diary. Oh, here you go. That's what we have in a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of the guys are wearing CCC caps.
are those
Oh,
ones with the
black
flaps?
caps. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No. Those are pile caps. The ones that look like the M43, but like kind of a cunt cap too. Oh, I'm sorry.
The mountain
whatever.
caps.
You listen. Yeah, I have one of those. They're awesome caps, but they're Civilian Conservation Corps caps. They were not issued to guys in
Okay,
Korea.
what did you just call those?
Cunt
Okay.
caps.
You never heard that?
You've never heard that?
For an overseas cap? You fold the inside in.
I understand
Oh,
why it's
yeah,
called that,
yeah.
but it's just funny.
Yeah. You never heard that?
Might
Wow.
be.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
and
Anyway,
I was like, sorry, quick story. I was like 12 and I was wearing an overseas cap, and like a boomer was like, "Nice cunt cap, kid." And I'm like, "What?"
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
but so the Civilian Conservation Corps cap looks like that with flaps and a buckle around front. It's not buttons or anything like the M43, but it's like those guys are wearing that in this film, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Was that one like
You know, I
younger
guess-
guy, right? Who's wearing one?
No, there's multiple guys wearing
Oh, I
these.
always remember the kid laying the minefield. I think he wore one.
There was several guys that were wearing these things, and I'm like, pile caps, yes. Late 50, yeah.
I think
Or
they were all
Jeep
being
caps, which
used
they-
at the time. That's the thing.
Well, probably, and like so that also goes along with the Hollies. Is like they just got them from old stock somewhere. They found a warehouse, and okay, well they'll fit in here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Shit like that.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. I got my next point
Okay.
that can come
Well,
later.
back then, when it came to a lot of like surplus stuff, they would have it donated to
Yeah.
armories and costume departments and stuff like that. So you see that in a lot of movies back then, like in the 50s and 60s, is that they're always like wearing something that's kind of like a little too obsolete for when it's supposed to
It's
take
like
place.
the generation of war before.
Right, yeah, like
Yeah,
that's how that it's but like To Hell and Back, which was 55. Like all the German stuff is like this weird pseudo World War One looking stuff. It's
Yeah.
Right, but here's the thing: is like,
Anyway.
so my point with that would be this was 6 years after the Second World War
Yeah.
ended. Okay, the Holly liners, I get it; they're surplus. Somebody found something like that. The gear didn't really change that terribly much, especially in late 50, because late 50 was very early on in the Korean War. Like June, yes, we went there and everything. So June to say December, yeah, it's 6 months. Most of the shit they were using was gonna be World War II, which is fine. Like the helmets were good, like they were World War II shells. Most of them are fixed bales, which is, I guess, fine.
How many more millions
But
do they
the
have
Holly-
for Sewell Bales at the time?
But right, and at this point, like Hollies would have been, and the reason I harp on the Hollies is because they knew in World War II very early on that they were dog shit. That's why they stopped issuing them at a certain point, and they were like, well, they're gonna fall apart, you know, like it's fucked.
here's the
And after the war, you get,
let's say here's the thing with a Holly. I mean, Holly is a collectorism. You know, it's people didn't know.
not at that point.
People didn't know about these helmets and their variations until like the 70s or the 80s or the 90s.
Right.
We're looking
right.
at this stuff through people that categorize it and use it. To these guys, it's a fucking helmet shell that fucking broke.
Yeah, it's surplus.
'Cause it's a piece of
It's-
shit.
Yeah, it's
You know, like again, we're calling it a Holly. It's a helmet liner to them. You know, even for a guy that got it somehow in 44 or in 40 or whatever.
the cardboard
You know,
liner.
fucking-
Yeah,
it's a
that,
piece of
you
shit.
know,
What
whatever.
the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah, but like, it just, I don't know. It's hard to label it like that because you're just.
No,
Looking
no,
for
I,
collectorism,
I,
you
I,
know?
I get that. I get that. But like, it's, at the time, it's like when you're in Korea, it's like,
It would be super rare. I get it, but I don't know. It's just like, it's a helmet liner.
but there was so many. There was so many of them though. Like, let's think about that. There were so many. And yes, I get they probably got them from a depot that was like, well, we stopped issuing these fucking things in 43 because we got bitched at. Here you go. Here's helmet liners. You can use them for your film. I get that. But like, it's and yeah.
well, it's a good piece of trivia to point stuff out, like because you see how movies and such were made back then. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what I always when I see stuff like that in old war movies and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's interesting. That shows such and such. You know, but yeah, it's not correct
Right.
necessarily.
Right. And so that. So I'll move on a little bit in my analysis, my initial analysis. I thought overall this was kind of a piece of shit. And the acting was not great. The quote unquote effects were not great. The tactics were not great. The just casual, like, how a mortar operates. You drop it in there and 2 seconds later the fucking round comes out. No, that's not how it works. Unless it's a rifled barrel one, which came out in the 70s or late 60s. But that's not what they had. And I was just annoyed the whole time. I'm like, you guys just came out of the Second World War, okay? You know how combat works, okay? Yeah, you're fighting a quote-unquote new enemy, and I get that. That's fine. Tactics change a bit, but, like, it was just the stereotypical fucking World War II shit in a Korean War movie, and it just was like one example. Okay, the guys are the battalions or the whatever the fuck it is, probably the battalion is marching back, right? They're retreating, right? These guys get to stay on the line, and while they're walking back, there's all these guys that are going to be defending this area, this platoon, you know, that's going to be defending them and being like, hey, we're going to be the opposition, whatever. No ammo is given to them. None of that. They just happen to have it. It's like, well, no. You're going to need as much fucking ammo. The guys that are running back do not need their fucking bandoliers. They're going to give them to you. Like, that's just one of the things that I was like, yeah, that's... Fuller, you know, he was in World War II. That's fine, but, like, that little detail of shit was like, there should have been guys being like, here, good luck, man. Or good luck, you know. Not man. But, like, good luck. Just passing bandos off, grenades, anything. Pistol ammo, rifle ammo, all that shit. But that wasn't in there, and it's like, so Fuller, what did he actually do again?
Fuller, what was he doing in World War II?
Yeah.
He was in the 1st Infantry Division. Yeah, he was from Africa all the way to the end.
So why the fuck didn't he put that in there?
I don't know the man personally.
No, I know that, but, like, you know what I'm saying is, like, there were so many things that he missed that were just, like, basic. Was this a money grab? Was this just like, you know, oh, I need money now, so I'm going to just write something and direct something that's like whatever?
I think it's... Go ahead.
He made a deal with, like, a producer.
He had to make, I think, like 7 movies or something, yeah.
He was supposed to write 5 movies, and then he was like, hey, could I direct them and you don't pay me any more money? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
And then he did a few of these, and then Fox was like, we'll make better movies with you. And then he went to Fox for a few years. And then,
so this is before he went to Fox.
Yeah. He tried to get the Big Red One made at Fox and, like, in the 50s and the 60s, but he kept failing.
No, but here's the thing is, this film seems like just a fucking throwaway whatever.
It was done by, like, a B producer.
And it shows.
Yeah, it wasn't a mainline studio or something.
No, and that's the problem is, like, it's horseshit. And it's like... It's entertaining to people at that time. I understand that whole thing too of, like, people didn't have Saving Private Ryan and all that stuff. It's entertaining, but it's like, even for the time, have you guys seen Hell is for Heroes?
No,
that came out a decade later.
Isn't that with Steve McQueen? Yeah.
That was 62.
I got a lot of similar vibes for that.
I think that's 61.
Yep. Well, no, but here's the thing is, I would say, so you've seen that. Hell is for Heroes was way better than this. Similar vibes. Oh, here's the thing. Similar vibes. This one just seemed like the production staff didn't give a fuck. They were just trying to pump out content, and it was just the most basic shit. The acting wasn't great. It's not a diss against the actors, because I know how that goes. Your production crew has to be really good for them to actually come through. It was just the most basic bitch entertainment style film that they had to pump out because of the contract. That's the way it felt. It felt very rushed and just not like there was a lot of effort put into it. Yeah. Like, not as much as several other films around the same time. So that's that's my initial rant about this, and it sucks because the subject matter very cool, very interesting. The actual portrayal, what we've got out of it, like, yeah, very weak, very stupid, very cliche.
Yeah, I think with Sam Fuller, there's some great stuff that comes out of like the 40s and 50s in terms of war stuff. I mean, like Best Years of Our Lives, I think is
amazing,
is really good, and it's really like unique for its time. That's just like something that you didn't make movies about at the time.
That was made for the GI Soul that was coming home.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's just like
just
for the
amazing
time it was made, it's like wow, that's really crazy. But I think Sam Fuller, his whole thing, he wants to make like Willie and Joe the movie. It seems, with his movies, it's like it's always like these sarcastic like idiots, and that's kind of what the movie's about. It's not really about anything else. There's always like this this objective that needs to be done, and they need to do it. And with this one specifically, I'm just kind of like, I was really bored through a lot of it. It didn't do much for me at all. It was one location the whole way through. I was joking with you, Brian. I sent you that clip of the one time that we hear a Chinese guy say something, and it's like he turns around and goes like or something, and it's like I guess that was him. It's clearly like a voiceover or something. The only time we ever hear the enemy speak.
Why did the Chinese buglers play nothing but U.S. Army like?
Because you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, a rendition of
taps.
taps.
Okay, so
why did they steal that?
Yeah.
That was a strange sequence.
Yeah.
They stole one and then they played it back.
I don't know why that
I don't get what that was all. I was trying to figure that out. He's like,
confuse them.
Go get me a bugle. It's like, well, you want me to just like run into their line and like grab one from a guy? Like what?
Right. And they'd be like, oh, they got a bugle. They got into our line. Fuck.
Right.
We'll just make that line
But I
stronger.
don't know why
line
screaming that bugle and doing that thing changes anything that happened. It would just add the cacophony of what was going on.
I don't know.
They were really only used to talk to infantry to like in attacks. They were never really used for like psychological warfare. Like whatever you hear about
they
them,
said in the film.
You really only hear about them in like the 50 to like early 51 period because they're fucking stupid. So only like the very short period of time they were used in the Korean War, and they were used in attacks. So.
Yeah.
It was just that was probably one of the more 1950s-esque scenes. But I will give them this.
Well, it was stupid.
I was shocked to see a fucking PPSH 41 in 1951 in this movie. That was
the first time we see.
That's impressive.
That was very impressive. Because I'll give them, and the Chinese used so many fucking weapons, this point of the war. Like
M1s and Springfield 1903s. And
I highly recommend the book, what is it? It's right there. Last Stand of Fox Company. Very good book. It's about Fox Company, Marine Corps company that was holding the road open at the Trojan Reservoir during the Trojan Reservoir disaster. Fucking amazing. But when they encounter the Chinese battalions, like these guys are armed with anything from Thompsons to sharpened sticks to Garands. One guy found an FN-49 that somehow was taken off a dead Luxembourg UN guy that ended up attacking Marines on the other side of the fucking Trojan Reservoir. And the guy used it in combat.
No, it was going to be 30-06, so it makes sense.
But it was really cool to see a real Russian PPSH. And again, in 41 and 51 in the States.
Yeah, and so there were things that they did well. Mm-hmm. Like there were things. I just the overwhelming things that majority of things that I saw were just not good.
Yeah, and before I forget, so another thing that comes up in real Korean War vets, like hardcore guys, especially in the Trojan Reservoir, and it's in the Last Stand of Fox Company, is they could actually smell the enemy. And you hear this with heavy scented garlic. That was how you could tell Chinese troops are coming, and you could usually smell it like probably 100 meters out. And it really traveled in the really cold air because it's a very pungent smell.
Right.
In the Pacific, the same thing happened too. The captured Japanese soldiers said that Marines smelled like goats, and that that's how they could tell they were coming. There was something with there's a lot that has gone into researching about smelling the enemy. It's kind of bullshit most of the time because people that say it are fucking idiots, but there is some truth to it for some guys that like have been in a combat situation.
Oh, there definitely is.
Like the Korean First or Second World War.
Even if it's a hint of garlic, you're like, that's not our food. guaranteed.
It's all cultural, yeah.
You know?
It's like the Japanese, mostly a fish
Yep.
diet. Well, they're going to leave certain things. The Vietnamese in the Vietnam War as well. You're gonna have a certain diet. You're gonna leave certain things
Yep.
behind. That's why
And you're also
going
going
to
to sweat. Your sweat's going to smell different.
Yes.
Your sweat is going to smell different.
Yep.
If you eat a lot of garlic, like I know if I eat a shitload of garlic, which I love garlic, it's amazing. But my sweat is strong with the smell of kind of like a rotten garlic.
Mm-hmm.
And it is pungent. Okay.
Times that by a battalion of guys running in fucking padded uniforms.
Right. That have not, bathed in fucking weeks. It's like, yeah, it's like it's gonna stink. You're gonna smell them and you're gonna know that they're coming. And that's a huge thing. Like even nowadays, like when I was in the infantry, they were like, don't MREs are actually fashioned to have you shit non-stinking shit. That's my opinion, but like when I shat,
chew the gum.
Very, 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 yeah, exactly. Yeah, chew the gum. Chiclets. And but it was very neutral, right? And it didn't make you sweat a certain smell. It just you all sweat and you smell like people, right? And it wasn't pungent. There was nothing pungent in there. There's no garlic. There's no fucking like spices. It all tastes the same. Blah blah. So that was one of my theories once I started looking at history of like, well, what you eat actually can affect your combat effectiveness because the enemy can smell you, and that's a true thing. And yeah, it's weird. And I did like that fact about this. The one guy was like, I can smell him. It's like, well, yeah, that's not just him trying to be hardcore. It's like, oh no, you can, especially in winter air when it's dry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stick to humidity.
Shit travels,
it's like, if you can smell their food or their sweat, it's like, well, they're close. Mm-hmm. Like.
Another thing, again, I liked about this, and I'm realizing as we talk about it, that it was a lot of good scenes between crap, that like made it bearable. But I really like the scene where he's pointing the M1, Deno. He has the M1 right on that guy in the field, and he's yelling at himself in his head to fucking pull the trigger. Why are you not pulling the trigger? You're fucking pussy. Yep. Why are you not doing it? Again, a lot of these movies at this time were made to get people ready for war, like Sergeant York. It's fun. Let's do it. Ha ha. Gobble like a turkey. But to show like
fun.
a guy
you
fucking do it. You fucking why can't you fucking do it? And just like, this is a life or death situation and he can't force himself. I thought that was very powerful. And I thought it was very good.
Right. Well, it's also a psyop in itself because they probably learned a lot of that shit in World War II of guys that just couldn't do it, and they probably put that in there to make people watching this go, "Well, I never want to be that guy. I never want to be that guy." They can't pull the trigger.
See,
that's how it works, though.
Oh,
that's how it works.
I got a different gist from it. I mean, I didn't get this as like a pro-war movie because at the end they're all fucking staggering.
No. I'm not saying that, but like it's still like. You're going to throw that in there and be like, this guy is considered a pussy.
Yep.
Like, not just with that, but like, the way his leadership style is, he's questioning himself constantly.
Yeah.
And you go subconsciously, you go away from that going, I don't ever want to be that guy.
Yep. Or
I want to be the guy that can pull the trigger. Yep. And yeah, no, I didn't think it was a pro-war film or anti-war film.
Yeah. Which again,
I thought it was just a war film.
It's funny for the time. And coming off of like Sands of Iwo Jima to like this, where it's like guys blowing up in minefields and getting gunned down, and like fucking indirect fire can kill you. It's not some fucking here's a nip with a knife in his fucking teeth crawling across the sands of Iwo. Like, it's like things that you don't see from people will kill you. It's just
they also made combat look
fire,
Well, but the indirect fire did not have the actual effect that it has in real life.
The problem is they filmed it in a soundstage, so they're limited to like how many square feet. They have all the weapons.
How many guys want to get killed? Too. That's the problem. Is like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a 60 millimeter mortar lands within about 30 yards of you. You're gonna get hit.
Yeah. Well.
And they had on both sides. They had guys that were getting mortar rounds next to them, and they were just like shrugging it off like nothing happened.
Yep.
And it's like, well, that's not how it works.
It was like Call of Duty health stamina for sure. The one guy like Langham got like shot like 4 times when he was in the minefield, and then was still alive. So.
Well, and that too, like so here's the thing is like the fire. Yeah, you might miss a couple times because it's cold. If you're that close, though, you're not going to miss that fucking much.
And yeah, and also the other thing too with the cold is funny. It kind of helps with injuries, especially severe injuries, because it helps to stop them from you bleeding out so quickly. The blood clots better in like these sub-degree temperatures, and a lot of times
That's not true. If you got a bad wound, it's going to flow.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying that to a certain extent, like some superficial things will heal or at least stop bleeding. In the elements.
They'll stop bleeding, then it'll pool up in there. That's a fallacy. Because when you get more blood going to a certain part of your body, it doesn't matter if you're fucking cold or whatever, that heat of all that blood moving there is going to melt all that shit, and it's still going to create problems. It's unless your appendage is completely frozen, which you're fucked anyway. That's not going to make a difference.
Interesting, because I've heard about guys that like got wounded in the cold, and then they went inside and they warmed up, then they bled out. So the cold was helping them survive, especially in the Eastern Front. You realize that a lot.
Yeah, but medically speaking, that's not unless your appendage is frozen or extremely cold, which you're fucked anyway because you have frostbite at that point.
Yeah,
that's not a thing.
Oh, and to touch on that randomly,
because there's
the whole frostbite scene
in
this
ahead.
film too.
Yeah,
they're all like rubbing their feet together and shit. Yeah.
That's not frostbite. That's the predecessor to frostbite.
Yeah, but they did try to touch on the coldness stuff.
I did like that because he's hitting what he thinks is the other guy's feet. He's hitting his own feet, and it's like, yeah, you need to get up and fucking move. Yeah. So that's actually fairly realistic. Is like that's when you start getting like his toes at that point when it started being frostbitten, but like, yeah, and
see, first it turns blue, then it turns black.
Yeah, it turns purple. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right. It turns purple, then it turns and that's actually pretty correct. That's also an infantryman's fucking way of saying things, but like, yeah, that is true. Yes, and so. They were freezing cold. They were also walking in water that was freezing cold.
Yeah.
Anytime I see that, like in a movie or something, where it's like snow like this and someone moves through the water, it just makes me cringe. Like that must just be the worst fucking thing.
Well, it's like these guys that have been avoiding that water at all costs. Like it's not that far to jump across it. They would have been walking through it in snow. Like they would have been like jumping across that to not get their feet
or
wet.
putting something on top of it to not let it be a thing. It's theatrical. It's every time it's walk through the water, make it look cool. Look how miserable it is. Look
at the
water.
waves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in real life, like as an infantryman, like you would go, hey, avoid that shit and leave it open because then it's like, hey, everybody sees that there's water there. Not good. Your feet are actually a priority, which they portrayed in this film. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to be walking through water just to go out to the fucking frozen snow with leather boots. Not going to happen.
They had that, they were all like around that little pond, or they call it the pool in the movie. And like, they were giving out the coffees. And the one guy got his coffee and he hated it. He tried to give it off to the fucking medic for shaving.
Well, it's too hot. It was too hot.
I know. I thought that was pretty funny. You can use mine.
Yep.
No, don't use the, fucking hot liquid.
Yep.
Like, I got some Reveille Cave vibes, though. Just because it was a cave.
Yeah, me too. I thought.
Yeah, that was the very first thing I thought about. Was like, I was like, oh.
Everyone listening to this will know what we mean in a year.
Yeah. Is there anything more to say about fixed bayonets?
I could say a few more things. But anybody else want to say anything?
I think I've said everything I've wanted to say. Like I say, it's most like Sam Fuller's most stuff. He wants to do like Willie and Joe the movie, and that's kind of what it feels like to me.
Yeah, but that's, an infantry company. You're gonna have people like that.
I understand that. I don't like it.
More accentuated, and it's not like. Yeah. But
that's in my opinion. There's just not much else. I think it's. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I think it's better than having here's the Jewish guy, here is the Brooklyn guy. It's like, why do we need the fucking Power Rangers in World War II, Steven Spielberg? Like fucking, why do we have one token dude for each one?
But you still got that though, without naming the where they're from, like Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
The typical fucking hardcore fucking badass sergeant.
This was what started the whole like Sergeant Rock like fucking action figure, by the way, I'm not mistaken. These movies, but
Yeah, but it's like, could you get more stereotypical than the guy that's like, oh, I don't necessarily want to be here. I can't do this job. You know, he's a corporal. It's like, oh, well, how the fuck were you a corporal then if you've never done that? But like, whatever. Like, and then like, you know, the foreign guy, yeah, the loudmouth guy, the guy that knows everything, you know, which is fun. Like, these selectors are at least 2,000 years old. It's like, great, clown face. Like, get the fuck moving. Yeah, that was fun. But like, it's like the stereotypical fucking characters.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's, oh, everybody else is dead. I'm in charge now. I'm gonna say the same exact shit. Fucking wrap him in a blanket.
Bury him. I thought this. I fucking hate.
Mark
and
it.
I knew that was gonna happen. I hate that shit in war movies when they do that sort of thing.
that's him stiffening up.
But that's
Fucking dumb.
40s and 50s Hollywood for you though.
I understand.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't mean it's great.
Well, here. Okay, can I tell
I'm
a
not
little?
saying it's good. I'm just saying like that's just
Yeah,
get ready to expect
Michael's
it.
gonna go on story time.
Yeah, I can
right
tell a
now.
little story. So.
It was 1992.
When I was
Finland.
when I was 2 years old. No. But
Stop laughing, boomer.
yeah, no. So that sort of thing with there's this theme going on through the movie where it's someone dies and the one who's in charge says wrap him in a blanket, bury him, and mark it. Like that happens, I think 3 times in the movie. You know, they had the Sarge said, then finally the guy has to come around, be the leader at the end. And when the Sarge dies, he says that like, oh, it's perfect irony for the movie or something. And it's funny because I hate cheesy shit like that when it's so blatant. And I remember I read the very first draft years ago. I read the very first draft of Saving Private Ryan. And the very first draft for that movie had something in it that was very similar to that. And I'm so I have my own things with Saving Private Ryan, but I'm so glad they took it out. In the original script, they had this whole thing that when someone would die in the script, someone would like mention their name, and then Captain Miller would say, who is like okay, the Vin Diesel character dies. What's his name? I forgot. Caparzo, yeah.
Caparzo.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, Caparzo's dead. Then Miller would say, who's Caparzo? I've never heard of Caparzo. Caparzo doesn't exist. And then later on, Wade dies in the movie and then in the script, like, oh man, can't believe we lost Wade. Who's Wade? I don't know Wade. Wade doesn't exist. And then at the very end of the script, they have it so when this Tom Sizemore character, Sergeant Mike, dies, Captain Miller is they're like, he's like, what do we do now that Mike's dead? And he's like, who's Mike? I don't know Mike. Or something. And it's just like, this is the cheesiest horse shit I've ever heard. And I'm so glad that they took it out of the movie.
Well, you told me some other shit where like he was lighting Tom Hanks' character was lighting a cigar.
Yeah,
on
in the first draft.
In the 6 foot fucking surf off Normandy.
Yeah, when they're approaching, when they're in the first draft of the script, when they're approaching, when they're approaching the beach, he has a cigar in his mouth and he lights a match off one of the guy's helmets.
The wet helmet.
Yeah. Well, they're also
That's how your Omaha movie starts, right?
Well, no, the funniest thing about that script too is that it confuses Omaha Beach and Point de Hawk. It like mashes them together.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, it's like they're attacking quote Omaha Beach, but they're climbing up ropes at the same time. It's like
Point de Normandy.
Robert Rodat for that first draft, he didn't know what the fuck Omaha Beach was.
Funny. Before we jump into IMFDB, I will say this though: the dry socks was a funny GI thing that I liked, especially when the guys were dreaming about it.
Hey, I
know
found
Mike
dry
probably
socks.
that finding them was stupid, but it was just funny because it's the colds, everybody's wet because you're walking through a pool for no reason. It was just funny to see dry socks come up more than once. So, and IMFDB guys, the drill. If you're new and you don't, go to Internet Movie Firearms Database and. Well, we'll see what awesome Korean War guns they use.
I like how, like on IMFDB, they always use like the colloquial term M1 Garand.
Yeah.
The U.S. rifle caliber 30 M1.
Mm-hmm.
Bam.
They're good. They're
Gotta be
good guys.
specific.
Nice view of the muzzle right there with the bayonet attached.
Oh yeah, I saw some BFAs.
That was
and this one is not.
yeah.
some of the
That was
BFAs.
cool.
I
Yeah,
saw all of them have BFAs in there.
Yeah.
yeah. This one didn't have a BFA on it though. At least
No,
for the
that
close
one,
up, because a
but,
lot of
like-
stuff in Hollywood they don't care. They just put it on.
Nice.
Also, nice rubber prop guns
Narrow
for the
front slide base on
Chinese.
that gun, too. Oh yeah, they have some cut down bayonets
Loved
too, which
it.
is cool. Like the main character has a 1905 E1, which is the one.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have.
and that's fine. Yep, that's fine.
For a bit there, I had to look at the parkas because I thought they were German parkas, but they're actually the correct mountain parka.
How can you tell if they were German though?
Well, because the buttons look like the paper ones the Germans used, and
okay.
from where the line was.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I don't know enough to comment on that, so I'm not going to.
yeah, no, I was wrong.
You were wrong that they were
See
German
how they have
parkas. You're saying
see how
they're saying that
yeah,
they're
GI. You see
correct,
the little
right?
the
Yeah.
top flap? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. No, they're the correct American ones. It was cool to see the some M1 N blocks like on their kit. Not on the bandoliers. That was a
Yeah.
bit strange, but at least some of the kit. He throws the carbine at a guy, doesn't he? At one point.
I
Don't
don't
remember
that.
that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I think they were in the cave. Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah, literally. I don't know where I planted the mines. I can walk backhanded on it.
That's why I hate. That's why I'm saying it's like Willie and Joe the movie. It's so annoying.
Yeah. I don't ever see the VAR.
Right. So this BAR, that would have been a fucking, that would have been an A4. You know that.
Yeah, it's again, it's
At this
it's
point-
because it's like it's an obsolete
Studio.
one, which is why the movie people were able to
Yep.
get it.
Yep. Exactly.
And
But
never
then
was
50
used.
was
It was just in the
fucking-
back of the cave. So yeah.
Yep. Oh, those are ammo,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
They did say put a BAR up there or something at some point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, a little Ma Deuce action.
That I thought that was cool to have a real 50 in it. And
Yeah.
it had a pretty good cyclic rate. And then later on in the film, you see like all the shit strewn around it. And the fact the guy got his ear shot off was interesting. I know that it was trying to be macho and shit, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of other films from the time again where a guy gets his ear
if you
shot
if
off.
you can get your ears shot off by a rifle round, like
You're
and
deaf.
land on the fucking barrel, that's impressive.
Oh, there's your A4.
Yeah, there's the A4 on the
On the
M3.
Chinese
Yeah.
tank.
The
Okay. Yeah.
Soviet tank.
On
Yeah.
the M3
Well,
Stuart.
It's an M5. I'll give them this though. They did choose the only American tank that had the most.
Is that a
sloped armor.
5? Are you sure?
I think it's an M5 with a modified turret.
I think it's an M3.
It looked
Hull
just
is
like
an
a.
M5,
It just
not
looked
an
like a
M3.
giant prop to me.
Sloped
It didn't
front.
look real.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a real tank,
Okay.
but
It's a
like
real tank.
the gun is fake.
it could be
main
the
gun is
M5
fake.
A5, which was the export model. It's more curvy.
All right, well scroll down
Metal
there.
pipe with holes
Fucking-
drilled in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, 1917. We talked about this.
I love
Yep.
the look of that gun.
it's so hot.
It's a fucking beast,
Yeah.
man.
It saved so many guys' lives.
I want
I knew
one
it-
so bad. It just costs so goddamn much now.
I know. I knew Battle of the Bulge vet 103rd Golden Lions, I believe. He said he shot out 2 barrels from it, water cooled, on the first day of the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
Fucking yeah, it's a lot of shooting.
Pure sex.
Papa
right
Shaw.
here. Pure sex.
That was-
Pure
again,
Soviet
Pure
porn.
sex. I love.
While you were attending to the Doge, we'd mentioned it was really cool to see this in a.
Yeah.
Do you have a hard on, Nate? Do you have a hard on for Soviet guns?
I have a hard on for the 41s.
Okay, for the PPSH.
He's in my phone as PPSH boomer.
I was hoping I was hoping that I could see. I'm trying to see if I can see here.
Look, charging. Oh, that's a
Well, I mean, hold on. Shut up.
Get out of here.
Yeah, ad. Don't care about you fishing. It's hard to tell from here. This actually might be the a Chinese one because the Chinese ones don't have safety notches.
There's no front sight post. It's.
Oh yeah, you're
cover.
right. Yeah.
So it's a really early World
Probably
War
a
II
prop.
gun.
yeah.
No, it's probably a 42.
It might be chopped down to where it can't fire anymore, but
No.
possible.
Well, no. Well, no.
No, that was way before
yeah,
then. Yeah.
that is weird. It has no front sight.
Yeah, they had a front sight protector that came out like at 40.
But it doesn't even have. But it doesn't even have a front sight. Normally, it has like a screw
no,
post.
it has-
No, it does not.
I think it's just the angle. No, it has a post.
No, the front sight's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just the early like Neld style. Yep. The early PPSHs are very strange looking
Yeah. Well.
compared to the ones we all
Why
like, know
don't-
from Call of Duty.
why don't they have a foregrip on them? It's just like, how am I supposed to hold this by the drum
The drum.
magazine?
The
Like,
drum.
it's-
Well, there's
it's
like
so
there's
weird.
like
It was never a
it's like
problem.
it's like right in front of the drum. There
The
the
tradition.
mag well is like this thick,
Uh-huh.
so you can grab like right in front and or hold by the drum. It's so solid. It don't if you have a good fit because you want to get the ones that have a good fit. If you have ones that wobble, they don't feed. So you have to have the ones that are stiff, and so then it's a tight fit and it won't move. And
Yeah,
so you can hold it. You can normally hold it right on the crook area like that, or you can hold it on the drum, or you can hold it behind the drum.
I don't know, it just seems so obvious. Like, just put a wooden foregrip on that thing like a Thompson.
Even even during the war, they had troubles with mags and stuff. And also, you can hold it by the sling swivel, which you see a lot on Thompsons. Actually.
Yeah.
You hold it like this.
You can also
or like this.
You can also, I've seen guys in mainly like Vietnam and stuff. They've jerry rigged like foregrips into the actual shroud. So like so that shroud is on the side.
Yeah.
Like they have like ways of like, even though it doesn't have holes, I don't think it has holes underneath. I think it folds
like a
under.
John Basilone handle.
Yeah, there's no holes underneath, but I've seen guys jerry rig stuff that actually kind of holds it in. And but for the most part, the cyclet rate is so high, and it's such a low caliber, you don't really need to worry about climbing. It's not like a Thompson where you shoot it and it climbs. This is a lower caliber, so it's kind of like once you have the weight.
Well, also, if you're using it how it's correctly supposed to be used, you're not going to be doing cyclic. You're just going to be going.
Yeah. You're going to be like thumping it. Yeah.
Nate, is that a Thompson drum? It looks too big for the mag.
No. Shut up! I don't care about fishing.
I don't know. It looks.
No, that's a 41. Because here's the bar.
Okay.
The Thompson has the spoon turns, like the things that you twist. That's just a latch.
And the half moon clip things.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, ooh, what year is that? I was trying to like see pictures of it.
Again, I was like, wartime Korean film, and they have a PBSH 41.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Pure sex.
The Super Bazooka. See, this is one of the scenes that I fucking hated.
Super Bazooka.
It's like it takes 3 fucking bazookas to take out a fucking.
I think they actually knocked out the tank. By the way,
Look at that! Look at that image right there. They actually used some kind of projectile.
I think they actually shot up the tank, dude. Because when you see it burning, it looks just like the footage from Cologne to the Panther burning, where you see the fire inside the tank.
Yeah.
It's like black and whole.
You see that super bazooka. I obviously know this is Korean War. It's contemporary when it was made. You see that super bazooka in so many World War II movies back in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But in the 50s, like, that's when actually, that was actually really cool. That was a good touch. The M20
on the correct mount,
76
too,
millimeter,
like the 1970s,
75.
Yeah.
Yep.
The very late war, they used them. You see them. Yeah, 20 millimeter ones actually. You see paratroopers use them in Valkyrie or Varsity.
Why are their helmets so shiny here?
Water.
They got white, and they're just reflecting the fucking lights in the top
studio.
of the
Those are studio lights.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, like I know those are studio lights. I just was like, I don't remember.
There's 4 different suns in North Korea.
Right,
It's melting snow. Yeah, it's melting snow. It's worse than Tatooine.
I think the gun sights they painted over it though.
Yeah, look at that.
Or they didn't take the cover off.
Yeah, look at that.
I noticed that when they were looking
Just
through it.
look blackness as you look through the.
It's tinted, Brian. Come on, stop ruining the illusion.
He's aiming at the cameraman.
Yeah, it's to ruin the flare of the sun off it, but the helmets kind of defeat that purpose.
See, these are stalactites.
Shut up! I love that part. That was my favorite part of the movie. And there we go.
They don't mention the artillery guns or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Well, the guy that did this one wasn't as good as the other ones. So if you want to amend the page, go to
I can do
IMFDB.
that. Yeah, I've done it many times to many pages. Let us never speak of this movie again.
I guess we could start our outro and do our how many males we're gonna give this. Well, Mike, because you wanted to go, last first, you can now go first last.
So yeah, this one just didn't do it for me. It was like, if I was a kid and watching it, it'd be cool, but like, yeah, this is just. I felt like the overall theme was like just pumping this shit out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I already said that. So out of 10, I'm going to give this a 2.
God damn. Ooh.
Mike A., you've got it.
Yeah,
No explanation, just 2? Mic drop?
I already gave my explanation.
Yeah, but...
in the fucking podcast. Yes, mic drop.
Where have you
mic
been?
Drop.
Yeah.
Yes, mic drop.
Okay.
Yes, mic drop. Mike A., you got it.
Okay. I think it's I was particularly bored through it. Yes, there were some little interesting things, which how most war movies back then are. Like you watch them, it's like, oh, this is cute, but hey, that's kind of a nice little thing to see in there. Hey, that's a cool little touch. But yeah, like I say, I'm not really a fan of this of the fuller the fuller style, and I don't know. It's okay. I guess I would give it probably 4 out of 10. It's harmless, but so forgettable.
God damn, dude, you guys are brutal tonight. Jesus.
I could say a lot. I said nice things to it. I said it was cute and it was forgettable.
It was
so.
cute. It's
cute.
condescending. It's condescending cute.
It's cute and forgettable. It's harmless. So
It's not good.
It's like the diet soda you have after lunch.
yeah.
Who are you passing the mic off to, Mike?
Okay. Oh no, Nate. We'll do Nate.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different style. However, they were churning these, as Mike B said a bunch of times. This is the time era where they were like churning out war movies, black and white war movies. Just, shove it out, do it, release on to the next one, and that's what this is. That aside, I mentioned what I really liked about it, and we all talked about what we hate about it. I pretty much resonated with everything like that, but I didn't come out hating it. I didn't come out being like seethingly angry about anything. So like I don't know. I mean, there were horrible cliches and that kind of stuff. It felt kind of like a campy B-rated movie of the time if you were to like grade it of the time. So I don't know. Let's give it some mercy. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Screaming Mel Gibson's. There were parts of it that resonated just a little bit more than like the really bad 1950s movies that I have seen. So I felt it doesn't deserve high markings. It doesn't deserve low markings, but it earns a little bit more just to be a little bit outside of the my ticket's been punched. So I give it a 6 out of 10.
Cool.
Brian.
It's definitely an interesting film. I mean, even though fucking we all didn't like a lot of it, at least we were able to talk about it for a while. It makes you talk. It's not like some of these other films where it's like, oh my god, I wasted 2 hours of my life and I don't want to fucking talk about the 2 hours of my life I wasted. Like at least we can have a conversation about it.
Pearl Harbor.
Yes, we haven't even got there yet. Midway. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like it has a lot of things that are good. I feel like it has a few things that are bad, but I did enjoy it. It is a product of its time. I get it, and I can, conceptualize that. But seeing what came before it and what came after it, I think it's kind of interesting, and I think it did influence a lot of later films. And like Mike said earlier, Hell's for Heroes with Steve McQueen that came out literally a decade later. It's funny to compare Sergeant York, that came out before this, 10 years, to this, to that. How like the narrative has changed with war movies over 2 decades. So I really think like this started us on the path towards things like Hell's for Heroes and the 60s war movies that like got really people like talk about like fucking obviously I'm drawing a blank now, but like Where Eagles Dare or The Eagle Has Landed, like that kind of stuff. I really think that this pushed it more in that direction of just like more action with a narrative, like The Grand Illusion, where it's like a PW camp the whole time, or like I think it's an important building block in far as war movies have progressed. That being said, it does have a lot of flaws and things, but I still want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I give it a 7. I've seen a lot worse. I've seen a lot better.
I've absolutely seen a lot worse.
Yeah. I just feel like, I just wonder what they cut out of it. I wonder if it could have been a better film because it really just feel like this Fury-esque style, just like you're trying to hit the high notes all the time with like, the characters and this and that. It's kind of like too much, If it was toned down a bit, I think it might be better. But it is just a product of its time.
It could also be heavily influenced by 20th Century Fox as well in terms of that. It's like, hey, we want to make this, movie, and I feel like kind of what you said, like by laying the foundation of 10, 15 years from that point, from that movie was made. That's also when production companies and companies in general kind of allowed a hands-off approach and try to experiment than the cookie cutter, let's shape it up this way, send it out, done. And I feel like this is a movie and a product of its time, literally, because that was the playbook at that time. Cookie cutter, send it out, done, on the next one, to kind of reverberate what Mike B had said, kind of push it out and just get it the fuck done. I think it really does resonate with that. So that also might be, a big influence as well. The companies going, send it out, next one, go, boom.
That's why you never sell your soul to a studio, because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna fuck with it, and like it or not, at least with independent films, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
I mean, really, to wrap it up, what other Korean War movies from the U.S. perspective are there that are good?
There's not a lot. There's not a lot.
I don't know many
that
at all.
aren't of the time. Yeah.
Hold
There's
on,
Pork Chop Hill.
Google.
There's Pork Chop Hill,
Mm-hmm.
which
Korean
we could talk about
War
at some point, which is a very strange film, but a good film in a lot of ways.
Never seen that one.
That's more of just like we have the objective. And the funny thing about that is like they're like, Gregory Peck was like a pacifist, so the whole film he doesn't shoot a gun at all, and like all he does is throw hand grenades. So you can throw hand grenades if you're a pacifist, but you can't shoot a gun. And then a few years later, when he fucking does Guns N' Navarone, he's like shooting everybody.
I remember
like,
that.
What happened?
That's fine, because I was about to say that. I was about to say, but Brian, I've seen the Guns of Navarone where he kills people.
Yeah, I know. Like, what happened? Like, how much more money did they add to his contract? Between well, I can't. Well, maybe he just wants to kill Germans. I can't.
That's
kill
what I was just gonna say. That. Well, they're Nazis, and Nazis aren't people.
I like to explore different roles.
Yeah.
Because even the scene in the Guns of Navarone is like, you got me mad enough to use this thing.
Right.
But it's just interesting. And there's a lot of South Korean movies from the South Korean perspective. There's even movies now like Assembly that are from the Chinese perspective during the Korean War. But the U.S. ones, there's really not a lot of, which is saddening. And it's so diverse. Even to broaden that out to the UN, there's not a lot of stories about the Brits or the Turks. I mean, MASH
Canadians,
covers everything, but MASH was 40 years ago. I mean, there's just not a lot out there.
There is literally nothing of granted, it's only like a 5-minute Google search, but I can't find anything that isn't South Korean or over 50 years old.
Yeah, they're all over 50 years old. There's some that look really bad, like Target Zero and stuff. I know the Bridges at Toko-ri the ending is really good, but it's a very sappy 1950s love story. And that's very patriotic, though. That kind of like paints the picture like you do your duty even when you don't think you need to. You do it even if you die doing it in peacetime. Like that's like the total juxtaposition to this movie, where it's like guy yelling at himself to shoot the enemy in front of him, and that he's a pussy for not doing it. So. But there's not a lot out there, unfortunately. So if you're listening to this and you have connections and you want to make a Korean War movie, do it, because there's no good U.S. films out there.
Yeah,
that have been made this millennium. Yeah, I mean, if somebody puts a gun to your head and you have to watch Midway or this, definitely watch this.
Watch this.
There are better movies from our repertoire that we've talked about that we really think you should watch.
This is also shorter. So
yeah.
Yes, much shorter.
So, 90 minutes. And it's also on YouTube if you want to watch it. But anyway, so that's Fixed Bayonets. Join us next week for another war film. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
So what's that shit story, Mike?
Yes, it's great.
Well, so all right. Are we done recording on Audacity?
Fuck no, I'm still recording. What, are you fucking kidding me? I'm fucking recording this
Are
story.
you
Are you
recording?
kidding me?
Okay then, penis.
Are you still recording?
I'm still recording.
I'm actually gonna stop.
Okay, let's stop recording. That's funny. End it with that.
And see you guys.
Yeah, right. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a rating. Otherwise, Mel Gibson won't stop screaming. If you like this content, make sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram pages. If you want to directly support our work, make sure to check out our Patreon.